Hey there, film fans. I am Jeff.
I am Dave.
And I'm John, and welcome back to The Love of Cinema, a pod in which we'll challenge one another to discuss movies, both new and old, with a strictly positive critical eye.
That's right, and to avoid any lazy negativity, we are making this a drinking game.
A what?
Drink.
Negative criticism is absolutely allowed, but this is a positive criticism podcast. So if you hear this sound, that means we said something negative or stupid, and we have to drink every single time.
Wait, we're doing this for stupid as well?
Yeah, I added this last week, and I think it was very effective. That's what I think. I don't know if you got my new addition to the rule books
we're getting,
here, but
we're getting drunk.
Didn't get the memo.
yeah. All right, finish out the intro here.
Just changing some of my notes. So, while I'm changing my notes, pour yourself a glass, join us, and give it up for the films we love, and perhaps a film that needs some love. This week,
Yeah, that's
That was a
right.
good week.
We're going to be talking
This was
about
fun.
some films from the year 1973, which was a pretty good film year. But we are going to narrow it down to 3 films. But first, let's kick it over to John for some shout outs.
All right, as always, we're going to give it up to our beer sponsor. One day in the future, that bright, beautiful day, we're going to get to drink his beers again. I'm so excited. His name is Carlos Barroso. Give him a follow on Instagram at C Barroso Bar 2019. That's CBARROZOBAR 2019. And as always, the music you hear on this episode and every episode is provided by the artist Dasein. That's Dasein, Dasein. You can find all the music for free downloads at soundcloud.com/Dasein-artist. All right, you guys.
Yeah, 1973. So pretty interesting year. Pretty interesting
year.
year in movies.
Great year.
We're going to be talking about the highest grossing film of this year, but some others on the list include The Sting. Fantastic film, Rep Redford. You got American Graffiti, directed by the one and only George Lucas. You got Papillon. You've got The Way We Were. We've got Magnum Force. We've got Disney's Robin Hood. What's up? We've got another film we're going to be talking about. We've got Walking Tall, that did not star The Rock. And we've got Al Pacino in Serpico. We've got Natalie Wood in The Affair. We've got a ton of interesting films on the list. We have Mean Fucking Streets. This is a reminder to everybody that there will be some adult language used in this podcast, so feel free to check your parental advisories accordingly. Anyway, the 3 films that we are going to be talking about, we are going to be starting with the highest grossing film from 1973 at the American box office, which is The Exorcist. The Exorcist. Ooh.
and
I'm shaking thinking
apparently,
about
if you take into account inflation, it's the highest grossing R-rated film of all time. Does that still stand?
it. Is that right?
I think it does still stand. Yeah.
Wow. Shout out Linda
Certainly.
Blair. Hope
Yeah.
she's
They
doing
made
okay.
they made it for around 12, made over close to 500 worldwide. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
So, the film is a monster. The Exorcist, based on a novel. And then we are going to be talking about Bruce Lee's final film,
Yes.
Enter the Dragon. Final film for Bruce Lee. You may know the poster. I think, John, you have that poster, don't you? Do you have an Enter the Dragon poster?
Yeah, it's somewhere up on the... There's a Bruce Lee
Somewhere.
poster somewhere in the apartment. I can't remember if it's Enter the Dragon or not.
I thought it was Enter the Dragon because I thought I remembered the 3 slits across his face.
Yeah,
when that
John
final
hasn't
mirror
been in his apartment for a while.
Yeah, well, I forgot about my
Correct.
apartment.
All right, so just to recap, that is The Exorcist, that is Enter the Dragon, and then finally, in our redemption segment, or Was It Really That Bad, we are going to be discussing the first Roger Moore Bond film, Live and Let Die, which apparently is a theme song that they just recut for 2 hours over and over and over again. I saw the score for that movie.
I have a note for this.
It said score. I forget if it's score composed or score. I guess it was score produced by George Martin. I was like, no shit, McCartney and George Martin working again. No, he just fucking produced one song, and then every 3 minutes they just played that.
Okay, save it for the end. Save it for the end.
Okay, anyway, so that's going to be our Was It Really That Bad segment at the end. But right before we start talking about The Exorcist, we are going to continue with our segment of What You Been Watching. John, what you been watching?
What have I been watching? I started watching some of those masterclass series. If everyone has seen the fucking advertisements for those. So I watched Scorsese's and some of Aaron Sorkin's. So I watched Gangs of New York this week, which I hadn't seen in a while. One of his controversial movies, and whether or not it's one of his best, it's definitely got some problems, but god damn it, Daniel Day-Lewis is so good in that movie. I watched The American President, Bob Reiner, their second collaboration, Sorkin and Bob Reiner. And then I watched Denis Villeneuve's Enemy, which is the movie he made between Prisoners and Arrival, I believe. And Jake Gyllenhaal,
right.
really, really interesting. Probably the weirdest of his movies, which is saying something if you're into his stuff. I love him so much. Shout out. One reason I watched it is because one of my most anticipated movies that's supposed to be coming out. It was supposed to come out, I think, at the end of this year. Dune. Denis Villeneuve is making Dune, so hopefully they will push that back. I do not want them to release that when I can't see it in theaters.
That is not coming out anywhere but the cinema, trust me.
Yeah, so I'm super fucking excited. Love his movies. Had a good time, and of course these three movies. And Star Trek, still pumping away with the Next Generation. Loving it, loving it, loving it.
Oh, yeah.
How about you, Dave?
I actually I caught finally Jumanji: The Next Level this week. That's hit
funny,
streaming.
Right?
It's funny. I don't know if it's as good as the first one, but I certainly enjoyed it. That's for sure. I did like. It felt like everyone did their homework when they were portraying someone else.
Yeah.
So it was definitely a laugh. Just today, I finally gave X-Men: Days of Future Past a rewatch because the first time I saw that was on a plane.
So good.
It's better on the rewatch. Yeah, I didn't enjoy it on the plane. It's much better on the rewatch. And the best thing this week, as far as watching something, I went to a drive-in at Greenpoint and saw a midnight screening of Evil Dead.
Shut up! That's awesome.
Yeah, that looked really cool.
It was amazing. I highly recommend it. Drive-ins are back, everyone. Drive-ins are back. And
great.
Yeah, you drive in and they park all the cars, and you can get out and sit next to your car, and everyone's like 6 feet apart and social distancing and not doing all the right thing.
Still telling you guys they got to do
it's a fun night out.
If they could hook up fucking Bluetooth so you could bring your own fucking headphones and hook up, like, drive-ins are all the way back in. No technical sacrifice at all. You could still have a wonderful experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, if I can connect my Sonys, like,
I mean, these guys
totally
they had exterior speakers too set up.
Nice.
Right.
How did you drive in? Did you rent a car to go do that? Did you?
No, I went with friends.
Oh, sweet. God, that's so cool, man. Did you go with our crew, our horror movie crew in Astoria?
Absolutely, yeah. And
nice.
as tradition entails, we packed as many people in that damn car as we could because it was a per car cost.
No worries. We just have to sit here for 2 hours inside this car while we watch this. Oh, my God.
Hats off to my wife who went in the trunk.
Honestly.
No, she didn't. No, she didn't really. I can't back that up. She doesn't listen anyway, so I can say what I want.
That's fun, man. Good for you guys. That's really cool. I still have not taken advantage of the drive. They're happening everywhere. I'm hearing about them here in North Carolina too. I still have not hit one up, but one day.
Well, the Greenpoint one's really good because it has a couple of little food trucks set up down there as well, and they've actually got it's not porta potties. They've got actual toilets. Just in case anyone was concerned about that, yes, there are definitely toilets there.
Go to the drive-in for their toilets. Do it.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome.
Tight. I feel like we get to this segment, I always forget what I watched this week.
I know. I forgot last week, too, when you asked me. I wrote these down this time.
Yeah, I totally blanked.
Yeah, that was something stupid.
That's for me. That's something stupid, yeah.
Yeah, what the fuck did you watch? Let me guess. More reality TV. Is that?
I started this just so I started saying we should do what you've been watching to keep us relevant, but it was really just so I could rant about shit. And now I don't remember what I want to rant about. I did watch the Berkshires episode of
the one I mentioned last week.
Oh my god!
And to you, I have seen the Hans Zimmer masterclass. I got that as a Christmas present from my future sister-in-law.
I have not watched that one yet. Thank you. I didn't know he did one.
It's awesome. It's awesome getting perspective of someone like him who's just a master, and it's never musical, right? It's always like ideas. It's like the formula and like the music writing is always just. That's like second nature to him. It's always about like feel and mood and just the process of him watching the film and how he watches it is fascinating. Anyway, for another time, rant for another time. So I watched. I've been watching a lot of Our Planet, which is awesome. It's basically
It's your first time around.
Basically. Well, I mean, I've seen all the Planet Earths and stuff, but this is my first Our Planet, I guess.
Yeah,
Is that
this
what
is
it's
the
called?
Netflix version, right?
It's a giant fuck you to climate deniers. That's basically what it is. Anybody who denies climate, that's Richard Attenborough saying, "Fuck all of
Dude,
you."
have
In
you
20
gotten-
years? You should be shamed. We should carve into your face that you are a climate denier.
Jeff, have you gotten to the walrus episode yet? The walruses.
Is that Shallow Waters by any chance? 'Cause
Yeah,
I'm in that one. I'm in it right now, so I haven't
Oh
seen it. I
my
just
God,
finished the
dude.
Dolphins in
Oh my
Key West
God.
or in the.
the end of this episode is gonna break you, dude. Like,
Oh no! The
I hope
walrus
everyone
is
gets the
fucked.
message, because when you get to the point where Attenborough's pissed off enough to give you the finger, you fucked up.
honestly,
The
dude.
first Planet Earth was all about. I think it ended with. By the way, this planet's probably only sustainable for about 1 billion people tops. So we're over that by about sevenfold. So we should make some changes. And then Planet Earth 2, and then there's Life with Oprah, and there's just enough people, enough. I forget what else I've seen, but I'll just keep it there. Some Netflix.
No, that's good,
I
dude.
think anyway, yeah, good stuff. We have Tenet coming out next weekend, right? So we'll see.
Maybe.
We'll have some
I don't
news.
think it's coming out next weekend.
I don't think he's going
there's gonna
to,
be
and I don't think he should.
Yeah. No.
A week before they're gonna pull it.
Yeah, I would say
What?
so. I mean,
God,
they've run
I mean,
into
there's-
into trouble in China as well. It technically, at the moment, under the China's rules, can't screen in China because they've limited their movie length to 2 hours in the theater. And this thing's almost 3, of course, because
Right.
and so it effectively cannot screen in China at the moment. That's their second biggest market. They're not going to release it in China. I don't think they're going to release
Wow.
it here.
Yeah, I feel the exact same way. I think when the Asian market went down, I was like, "There's no way this is gonna be coming out." And a lot of our major cities, we're walking back reopenings here. Like, movie theaters are a
Right.
part of that. Like, why? Who are they
Yeah.
gonna? Who's gonna see it?
Right.
Damn it!
Right,
I know,
right,
but
right.
but I'm ready. I'm ready to go see it whenever the fuck it comes out. Hopefully, they'll
I'm ready to
release
go.
it
Yeah,
next year.
Yeah, me too.
And The Last Dance is on Netflix for everybody. I highly recommend that. It's the Michael Jordan documentary that was on ESPN Plus. It's on Netflix right now.
Is that
That's
on
that
Netflix
video
now?
that
Is that what I
Actually, I'm
kept
so mad
seeing?
that
Kept hearing advertisements for
Yeah.
that during the daily. Is that right? Or during
Oh, is it in the daily? I ad skip. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know about the daily. Anyway, okay, let's get to our podcast for today.
Yes.
What a week! So excited. We have to kick us off The Exorcist, 1973. So a little context for everybody. I think everybody kind of knows what it's about. William Friedkin, the director of this film, 2 years before, directed The French Connection, starring fucking Gene Hackman, Roy Scheider. I remember seeing this with John. We were freaking out about how good this was. We would pause scenes and just rewatch 30-second moments where there's not even any dialogue. We were just blown away. Fantastic, famous train sequence. It's just it is so well done. One of the best follows, because it's kind of like spy, like he's tailing somebody. And one of the best tailing sequences I've ever seen in a film in The French Connection. So William Friedkin, 1971. This is right after the studio system was about to go belly up, and so directors had basically autonomy to do whatever they want, and he could do anything he wanted. And he decided that he wanted to direct the adaptation of this William Peter Blatty novel, The Exorcist, about a demonic presence invading a little girl, and the dialogue. It was just so grotesque. People were just flabbergasted, and this movie became the highest, as we talked about, one of the highest grossing R-rated movies, if not the highest rated R-rated. I'm slurring already. Awesome film. Linda Blair, sorry that you'll always be remembered as the girl who peed and ruined the dinner party. But Ellen Burstyn.
Damn it, Linda.
Ellen Burstyn. Max von Sydow. I mean, just incredible all the way around. Won a couple Oscars. Who wants to go first with their thoughts?
Dave, you just
on
watched
The
it, right?
Exorcist?
I did. I
Super
watched it
fresh for
today.
you.
That's why I'm drinking beer a lot at the moment.
Right.
It's a movie that will fuck you up. It's the funny thing is, when you haven't watched it in a while, you don't remember that there's more to this than just a possessed girl. There's a whole mythology that leads up to it. So I'd forgotten all about the opening of this film, and I forgot how beautifully it's shot. Because we're talking the 70s where they couldn't CG this stuff. They went to Iraq and shot this stuff. The whole intro of the film is shot in Iraq. And
I thought I started the wrong film. I was like, shit.
Yeah.
Fuck. I was like, damn it, I rented the wrong movie.
And didn't they? That was a they shot that after the
it was after they were done. After
filming, and it was it's a British crew, right? Because we still had bad relations with them, so he couldn't go over there and shoot it. So they got a British crew to go film in Iraq.
Sort of. They also had to teach. They had to have a certain amount of Iraqi crew members to teach them filmmaking at the time as well, I believe.
Wow.
That was the contra deal that they made, and good on them. They may have, who knows, they may have kickstarted the Iraqi film industry.
Wow.
Which is great.
Interesting.
I'll tell you what though, one thing I did notice is that because these films are from the 70s, it's a different technique they use, and it really gave me a reappreciation of the zoom lens. Because some of the zooms they're doing in The Exorcist are ridiculous. He's got to have like 100, 200 millimeter zoom lens on that thing. And he's just coming in across rivers to a building, or right into people's faces from miles away and stuff like that. Yeah. The same thing with Enter the Dragon. They did a lot of zoom cinematography there. In that case, it was a particular style, but The Exorcist has these massively slow zooms that they're doing,
especially at the beginning. Yeah. Is that the bigger zooms in the beginning? Is that you're talking about when they're in Iraq?
And also the transition. But he also has
that one in the beginning of Georgetown.
Yeah,
when it goes into her house across the bridge.
Yep.
I mean, there's also talk for a second. I want to hear you technically. Isn't it true that with long telephoto lenses, they tend to be a little softer on the edges, so they have this kind of insulating feel as you move in, as opposed to a push-in, a dolly in with a regular larger size lens, right?
A little bit. I mean, the thing that fascinated me is as you zoom that thing in, your exposure is going to drop. Right. So they've got someone on adjusting exposure on that zoom, the same rate they're zooming, maintaining constant exposure, because you didn't have DaVinci Resolve back then.
No.
Your color timing was a whole different damn thing. You had to get that shit right.
This whole fucking movie was practical, right? It's crazy. When I was I was thinking the same thing. Well, I think refrigerated set.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That was a $50,000 piece of equipment to keep that set down to 30 degrees,
just so we could see some good breath. Unbelievable.
Yeah. I mean, just some good
but
breath.
They've released a whole heap of behind the scenes stuff. Don't get me started on some of the stuff. This is I did make a note about this is an old West style production of associated with this film. They had injured actors. They had the set cooled to 30 degrees to make breath visible. The directors fired guns next to people's ears to give them a fright.
He literally slapped the guy. The guy who plays the other priest, and
stole a whole shitload of music and just put it in his movie. And they were fighting lawsuits for this thing years later. It was this was the last of the I'm a director, I can do what I want kind of mentality, I think.
Yeah,
and after this, there's when the studio model went out, the independent studios started to really clamp down on that sort of thing. So it wasn't as out there Wild West. So I'm going to do what I want.
Have you ever read the book?
I have not, and I think I might after this, because from what I've heard, the book's even worse. But to give my opinion of the movie, it's a really slow, ominous burn, and then it starts to roller coaster up and down. You get a little bit to feed you, then you get a little bit to feed you, and then it's just all in. You go over the cliff. You heard the reports of people fainting, obviously, when it was first released. They had paramedics out. That was there's a very, very well done medical procedure she undergoes that is quite uncomfortable, and I just want to say the performance in that scene is phenomenal, because I was squirming. I had to look away once or twice.
No, I mean, that was one of those. It's kind of like when an animal gets hurt on screen. I was like, is she okay?
Yeah,
I know she's acting, but is she? She's 12.
You go to a movie now and you see people get stabbed and people have arms off and cut in half, and you're like, yeah, he got crushed, whatever. A little girl with a needle going in her neck, and you're like, oh, it's too much.
I mean,
so they did it really well. She did that really well.
What they won for sound, right? So this was back in the day when there wasn't sound editing and sound mixing; it was just sound. And the editor and the mixer, they won. And I feel like it's sometimes it stands out in obvious ways, like all the weird sound effects that they do and the way they mix. Mercedes Chambers, whatever it was, her voice into it. But then there are obvious things that are directorial choices that were very effective. Oh my God, that old MRI that they were hooking up to her, that loud.
Oh my God, it's horrifying. Yeah.
Terrible, awful, disturbing.
That's a horror film in its own.
I mean, it really is real life fucking horror. Let's just show it. It felt like documentary inside the inside the hospital. Whenever she was back in those places, every time it cut back to one of those, I was like, oh God, we're going to have to watch some awful, gross procedure.
Yeah, even like the infamous vomit effects are so well done. It's like you're half the time you're full front on camera and it's just coming out of her mouth and you can't tell. And that's in the 70s. There's no CG in this. That's a practical effect that's so well hidden. And I read up how it was done and I'm like, wow. Like it was a very, very complex arrangement that involved almost like not being able to close or move your mouth for like hours on end.
Jesus.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I'll tell you what though, you'd be a little twitchy after this if you were a family, wouldn't you? Like if she even sneezed funny, you'd be like, I'm calling the fucking priest. I'm done.
Right. Although this probably did not do well for recruitment of new priests. It did not make the priesthood seem fantastic. They literally were like, man, you were smart, and now you live in a dorm. Like, get that you're a 40-year-old dorm mate, and they like basically it's his fault that his mom died poor. Like it's like they really his mom like died in an insane asylum. It's like this is your fault, you poor priest.
Did you guys hear about the remake they tried to make in 2015?
An actual remake?
They were going to make they were going to do a remake,
like a shot for shot, that kind of thing.
No, they were going to do a remake of The Exorcist, but apparently it never got off the ground. I'm like, what would that have been like?
Hey, Emily Rose had some. I saw that in theaters, and I got some jumps out of that. But no need to redo this. This is no need.
Yeah, absolutely not. So if it ain't broke,
I saw this with Chloe, and honestly, we didn't know if we were going to make it through the whole movie. We just weren't in the mood for it, and we did. We sat there and we made it through. So kudos to us. More so than anything else, but also to the film. But I didn't take any notes because Chloe decided that she wanted to take the notes. Do you mind if I go through them?
Oh, I really want to hear, actually. Yeah.
All right. So it starts out with The Exorcist with an exclamation point.
You should actually bring her in and hand her a beer at this point, because if
I should, just hand it to her.
They're her notes.
Okay, here we go. You ready?
Okay. Don't put her in a box, Jeff. Let's get her.
Here we go. The beginning is confusing. Like, what movie is this? Yeah, same note. Yeah. Just buzzing. She said Iraq. What the fuck? And I wrote next to it, is this? It looks like it wants to be the Indiana Jones prequel.
Racist. Where do we begin? Keep going. Yeah, this is just awful. Let's go. This is great.
Okay. What's going on with this guy? Is he getting exorcised? Because they didn't tell you what an exorcism was. So basically, Max von Sydow in Iraq was just behaving weirdly. There's no other way of putting it. It's just we follow him around the streets and he's just being weird.
So wait, so the exorcist is just a guy that walks up a lot of hills getting some cardio?
That's right. Yeah. And then every now and then he finds
tired. Fatigued.
He finds a new gem that's going to be oversold at a gift shop soon. And then she wrote archaeology. It's a good note. She said
that's a word. It's a word.
This is what I'm saying.
The clock stopped. That's true. That happened in Iraq. The clocks just stopped when he brought the emblem out. And then she said, I wish I could laugh. And you know what? To her point, I kind of feel that way too. Since we talked a little bit about with Cabin in the Woods, the horror films of the 80s, how it's like you can't tell if they're more hilarious or scary, and that's part of the fun. This one's not too funny.
No, it's not.
So she wishes she could laugh. Then she gets to the points like basically she's like, oh, now we're in Georgetown. Like by the time they finally get to like the plot, it's like there's like a prelude in this. You know what I mean? That. Anyway, it was good, but it took us a while to get there. And then she said, "Is The Exorcist scary?" So that's not a great note, like 45 minutes into a horror film, but it's a slow burn, as Dave said. Yeah. And then she said, "This girl is definitely on drugs." And the funny thing about that is that was before she was actually possessed. So Linda Blair was on drugs before she was possessed.
Chloe didn't have to do a whole bunch of drugs before she watched this, did she?
No, did not. And then this note was good. Is she 6 or 15? We will never know. Yeah, it's hard to tell because the relationship with the mom early on was like a 6-year-old. She's like, oh yeah, we can like play at the park. Oh my God, Mom, good night. And she gives her like a big hug. And I was like, she could be anywhere between 6 and 15. I have no idea. And then
she was 12.
When Ellen Burstyn,
she says it.
She's 12. Well, this is before she said it. And then Ellen Burstyn goes up to the attic because she thinks she hears quote unquote rats. And she goes up there with a flashlight. I'm sorry, okay, fuck, I just ruined it. She goes up there with a candle. And rule number 1, everybody listening at home, you need to be really, really careful. If you think there's a demonic spirit in your house and you hear noises in the attic, don't go up there with an open flame, especially not if you're in a wooden townhouse in central DC. You're going to light this whole fucking bitch on fire. As soon as you get one scare, you're going to drop it. It's going to light. You don't want a tinderbox in your attic, all right? Go up there with a flashlight. Chloe looked it up. When were flashlights invented? 1899. That was surprising to her. She thought they would have been later. But flashlights were invented in 1899. She should have walked
at least
up into
this
the
movie
attic with a
inspired some
flashlight.
research.
And then we have 2 more notes. By the way, we're like 40 minutes into the movie. We have 2 more notes. I am scared, bored, but scared. That was your last note. And you know what? To that, I'm with her 100%. I will say to everybody, this is what I would compare it to. I did the Coors Brewery tour a couple times in Golden, Colorado, right outside of Denver. I highly recommend. You can do the tour, and then at the end of the tour, you can have 3 full beers in the tasting room. 3 full beers for free. If you want, you can skip the tour and just go straight to the tasting room. What I would recommend to people is see the film, but then if you ever want to rewatch it, just skip the tour and just go right to the tasting room. Let's get into the demonic possession stuff. That's what I would say.
The actual exorcism is only 9 minutes long in this movie, so you're watching a 9-minute movie.
Yeah.
Well, okay, when she gets to the pee and the party part, I guess that's probably like 50 minutes in. Like that's where it gets interesting. And I know there's some good. It's cool that Max von Sydow is at the beginning and then he's the one that comes back at the end. There's some good priest backstory there.
It's great that we got that perspective, because I was actually, one of the notes I had was like, it's definitely an accomplishment and the build-up's legitimate, and the effects for this time were phenomenal. All the practical effects that were done flawlessly, but it does lack the horrific punch that comes after it. Like I'm not sure how modern audiences would take it, given how desensitized we become.
Yeah.
Right. And we did well. We watched the whole thing and we were scared. We genuinely were into it. It was well done. We did not stop.
Had either of you seen this before?
It was good. I had seen it.
Okay.
She had never seen it before, but it was good. But it could be a little boring. It could be a little boring unless you love exposure, and unless you love the filmmaking behind it, I suppose. But as far as the story is concerned, it does a lot of things where they're in the home and they do the tricks, like you don't know if someone's gonna pop out, or if you see a mirror, something's gonna appear in the mirror, but of course nothing is going to for like an hour. You know what I mean? So it's good. It's a little boring, but it's fantastic. Yeah.
I think this is one of those movies. All right, first of all, I did kind of want to rattle these off. There have not been many. The Exorcist was one of the main reasons the door got opened into horror movies being taken more seriously. Rosemary's Baby was in there. Something Jekyll and Hyde back in like 30s. Then you have Jaws got some serious recognition. Silence of the Lambs obviously nailed it. Sixth Sense, Black Swan, Get Out.
Jaws actually apparently wouldn't have been made if it wasn't for The Exorcist.
I'm sure they
wanted something that was like a follow-up.
Would Ari Aster be taken seriously right now? All these things. So when we have to open that door, but I know what you mean about what you're saying. 2 points. One, I don't think it's possible for a modern audience, not just because of what you're talking about with structure and everything, which I totally know what you mean, but mostly because we are totally desensitized to the story of exorcism. When William Peter Blatty wrote this in 1971,
yeah,
definitely,
it was still pretty folklore-y. He based it on a real live case study that happened some point in the 40s in Maryland to this kid, and it had never really been commercialized before. So if the test of this movie, when you were going to see this for the first time, was can you get an audience to be on board with Ellen Burstyn and Karras in believing there's no fucking way this is actually going to require an exorcism, I do think it achieves that. But what's the price of that? The price is that it's not going to be as much fun for the rewatch because the exorcism takes so long to get to.
I mean, they almost made them change the title when it was released because their argument was no one knows what an exorcist is.
Yeah, and honestly, I think, I was thinking when I was watching this about why Silence of the Lambs, what lessons did it take from it? It's from the book and this. I've read the book of The Exorcist as well. The book's even worse, you guys, with what we're talking about. It happens at the very end and then it's fucking over. It takes, a few hundred pages to get to it and then it's over in like 5 pages. So the burn, it feels like the story is like trying to get us in the same headspace as these people. That, I do agree with you. That is something that I think would have worked really well before the age of rewatchability with video rentals and everything. If you had if you were just lined up to go watch this thing, you would be on the edge of your seat by the time it actually happens because you had never seen anything like that. But we're pretty spoiled nowadays. Like we want the gore. we want to know what this horror movie is going to do within the first 10 or 15 minutes. We at least want to see the first kill or something like that. So even though Reagan pisses her pants, and even though you start hearing the rats in the attic, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I have to watch this as a time capsule. Now, if you allow yourself to do that, it's fucking brilliant. And I do think it lives up to exactly what it's supposed to be. I just don't know if you can say a general title about this film anymore as the best horror movie of all time, because it's encapsulated in a period that doesn't really respond to the way we think of horror movies nowadays, and because it has dominated an entire subgenre of horror, exorcism.
Yeah.
Even
Jeff,
tell me, Emily Rose, shit hits the fan within like 10 minutes, right? She's like on a date or something, and like shit starts going crazy for her.
It happens quicker.
Yeah.
It happens quicker. Yeah. And then they introduce the other supporting characters, as opposed to this, where Linda Blair is like the 6th important character they introduce in order, like if you're going sequentially.
Yeah.
Fun fact: did you read the IMDb trivia on some of this stuff?
Yeah.
Like, did you get to the bit where there was like a real life serial killer?
He's
on the set, the X-ray tech. Yeah, with the X-ray techs.
Yeah.
He was Paul Bateson. He was suspected of doing the bag murders in 1977 through 78 in New York.
It's actually why Friedkin ended up making Cruising.
Yeah. And that's a fun little thing in itself. But yeah, no, I get all horror I think is going to lose something on the rewatch because it counts on you not knowing what's coming next or you not knowing what to expect.
I'll also say that we've made this comment before. I think the word horror is used too loosely whenever you're talking about movies, dramatic movies that have scary elements to them. Like, obviously, this has got horrific elements, but the sound design, the sincerity and the seriousness of the filmmaking, it feels more like a disturbing thriller to me than a straight up horror movie. Maybe it's just because I live when I live and I was born when I was born, and I think of horror differently. But wouldn't we have a similar conversation about something like The Shining or Rosemary's Baby?
Yeah,
I think The Shining's better.
But don't you?
By better, I mean
better.
They would definitely fall into the psychological thriller.
I still think it has a long, slow burn before things start really happening. Whereas in these horror movies nowadays,
not as long, not as slow.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I love The Shining
it's good.
too.
I mean, you need to have a build up. You do need to have a build up. My favorite horror movie of all time is the original Omen.
What?
And it does build up too, and it does have a lot of your super zooms that you love.
Jeff's come back to us in a second.
Yeah, this is great,
Dave,
and
what's
it was
your
worth the
favorite
ride.
horror
I'm glad we did wait it out. But to say like
Is it Showgirls?
I'm scared and bored at the same time is the best way.
Seriously,
think,
what is
summing
your
up.
favorite
You know,
horror movie?
from depending
Or
on your mood.
disturbing
I think
movie or
now
scary?
we are
solid.
we are mood based now. Like we watch things, and if we're in a bad mood when we watch something, then we remember the film that way. You know, so something to think about.
You cut out for a minute there. Did you say what your favorite horror movie was, just for us so we can hear it?
Oh yeah, the original Omen. The Omen.
Dude, that movie fucked me up. Yeah, that movie fucked me up nice and good. And again, when the hanging happens in 20 minutes, right? When the woman jumps off.
It's all for you, Damien.
Yeah.
It's all for you.
I mean, that happens pretty quickly. I think they learned some lessons. Yeah, Dave.
Yeah. It was 3 years after this. They clearly they saw this movie and went, "Fuck yeah, let's go." The Omen, Damon, father of Satan, or kid of Satan.
What is everybody?
They have Rosemary's Baby. They have this on the board already, so let's go.
Yeah, I mean, I am still again. I'm really happy it got made. It won Best Picture at the Golden Globes that year. Best Dramatic Picture at the Golden Globes that year. A horror movie. I mean, that's pretty fucking cool. It won Best Adapted Screenplay. I mean.
Yeah, it's the first horror film to be nominated for Best Picture.
Whenever a genre film can get in and be taken really seriously, that's always some kind of achievement. So,
actually, we not to talk too much about the Oscars, which come up on the show, because it's hard to not put that in perspective when we do these time capsule years the way we're doing them. But Ellen Burstyn was nominated for her performance. There are a lot of there are other performance nominations in this too. Linda Blair as Best Supporting Actress. Yeah, I think she might have even won the Golden Globe. I can't remember. That doesn't happen with horror movies anymore. And so I don't know what happened, because in many cases, a proper horror film requires performances that are larger than life. I'm thinking of Toni Collette.
Toni Collette, dude. I mean, she should have won that year. That's just.
I mean, in Hereditary, honestly, one of the best performance moments I've ever seen in the past, or at least in the past 10 years or whatever, is, and if you've seen Hereditary, she's off screen and you just hear her yelling.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about? When you look at the boy's face, and
everything she
and,
does
and
in
then
that
she's
movie.
just screaming
She's
when she's and it's
remarkable.
like, but I don't know why Linda Blair gets the
All right,
the
well,
start.
okay,
Not
so-
Linda Blair and Ellen Burstyn, but
So it kind of ties back into what we're saying. Like, as much fun as we have, I'm not disagreeing with you guys at all. As much fun as we have with more modern styles of horror movies where you can kind of laugh at it as well, what do you lose with that? You lose the way people perceive it in terms of seriousness. You know, Ari Aster took that movie as that was a Citizen Kane when he was making it. You know, they all took it really fucking seriously. Toni Collette's a serious actress. She took it seriously. But we've come such a long way from The Exorcist and Rosemary's Baby and Silence of the Lambs that unfortunately
which
it's
is
kind of been
what-
shoved back into a
that's what
niche.
a lot of horror
I don't even
evolved
think
into
it was
in this time
considered.
period.
She didn't even get a Golden Globe nom that year,
Right.
did she?
Yeah.
I don't think so. No.
Yeah, so-
and Get Out is the only other like
And
quote
Get
unquote
Out,
horror
yeah.
film, which is sort of like a horror comedy. Like that's almost genre bending.
It's almost like satire. Yeah, I feel like it's not quite the same. But
Yeah,
I agree
it's
with you.
it's real when it's real, and it's satire when it's satire. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
but this is the tentpole. So if you want to know where, like, your lineage, if you want to know the history of all this stuff, yeah, I guess Rosemary's Baby
Yeah, I
does predate
sometimes
this. And if
just-
you really,
I
get
sometimes
crazy,
just
you
walk
can go
into a
back to,
room
like,
and pee on the rug
Frankenstein,
just
Godzilla,
to
and all
see
those
what
films
happens.
from the past. But as
Yeah.
far as like modern film, this is it. This is the Citizen Kane of this genre for sure.
Yeah.
yeah, and it taught us a lot. There are still elements that we're going to use from it,
It was
even
thriller,
though
yeah,
if
suspense.
most of those
Right.
elements exist in the last 20 minutes.
I think closest to horror
Yeah.
was The Birds, I think, or maybe Psycho.
Right.
you know, it's fun.
Oh, and also, and of course, shout out to Hitchcock too. But
All
this,
right.
again,
Well,
this
with
is just
that-
a little bit different. This is like a little.
Well, he never made horror, right? I mean, these thriller, suspense, like, yeah. But I know what you mean. I feel you. A lot of the same elements. Freaking.
Fucking the bird.
Yeah.
I watched the birds on on Mischief Night one year, and it was terrible when I was like 12. It was really fucking scary.
Disturbing shit.
Anything else to say about The Exorcist? Yeah.
I
Give
just
it a
want to
go,
say
watch, everybody.
Mercedes. How do you say her? Who is it? What's her name? Mercedes McChambers, or what? The woman who does the voice.
McCambridge.
McCambridge. Thank you. I just love this little tidbit of trivia. When she agreed to do this, she told William Friedkin the only thing that would be necessary,
And
because
they tied her to
she
a
knew what he
chair.
wanted, is that she was going to require a pack
Yeah.
of cigarettes, a bottle of whiskey, raw eggs, and her priest to be present while she did this performance, because she was in AA at the time. And she knew if she was going
Yeah.
to do
Oh.
what was required to get that voice, she was going to have to get fucked up. So,
no.
and they tied her to a fucking chair while she did it.
Wow. So the green vomit was just her, AA person who goes off the deep end. That's just that was the
Fucking
contraption.
Crazy, dude. I know what you need. I'm just going to need some whiskey, cigarettes, raw eggs, and a priest.
Oh my god.
That's the drink.
All right. Well, friends, we're going to take a short little break. And then when we come back, we are so excited to talk about Bruce Lee's final picture, Enter the Dragon. See you soon. See you in a soon. What the
What
fuck?
the fuck?
And we're back.
We're back.
And we're back. We're back. We're back.
We are back. Oh my gosh. Moving along. Film year 1973.
Yeah, it's the
We
70s. We
didn't-
could have started with
we
Welcome
did not,
Back.
We did not want to be another Mean Streets podcast, but Mean Streets is the best movie from this year, right? That's like that's
Good-
that movie.
Good
is
argument
so
for
goddamn
sure.
good.
Yeah.
The way
Yeah,
we were
I
is
mean,
great. Graffiti's good. There's a lot of good stuff. Anyway, we are back. So, a little context about Bruce Lee here, which I actually didn't really know. So, I knew that he came to America when he was like probably around 20. He was kind of young. Moved to Seattle, and he did open up a studio, and it's sort of he didn't define himself by one particular teaching style. He was basically a combination of a bunch of different styles. I forget what the exact translation was of his style, but it's something like the fist has no soul or something. It's like a weird translation of what the style is that he practiced, what he's called. But pretty early on in his early 20s, he was cast as Kato, who's the sidekick to the Green Hornet on the television series. And he did make appearances on the Batman TV series. I think this is like 66, 67 or so. You know, about 7 years before this film came out. And then 1971 is where he really takes off with the film, something about the boss. Shit, I'm blanking on the name. It's the Big Boss. Sorry, that's what it was. the big boss. And then very, very quickly, he had his own studio. He has Fist of Fury, which comes out. He has The Way of the Dragon, which is his writing, directing, producing baby, co-starring Chuck Norris, who he met years before in the 60s. Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris, I guess they had met at like a competition where they must have been in different weight classes or different styles or something, and they shook hands and became friends. So they were working together on that film. And then Enter the Dragon, not written and directed by Bruce Lee, although he did all of the fight sequences. In fact, in the script, it said, "Here is a fight, will be choreographed by Mr. Lee." Like, it's just like nothing even written down by this. But he did all of it.
He directed the pre-credits fight, like the very first fight.
I think he directed every single fight, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I read that too, Dave, but it said in the opening credits of the movie that he directs all the fight choreography, but who knows?
Yeah,
he does that.
So anyway, just to catch everybody up. So he's about 31, 32 years old when he's filming this movie. He kind of gets carte blanche on all the fight sequences, but because he's not the producer, he gets some creative differences. They do film in Hong Kong, which was something he thought he should do. So all of the stunt artists are actual fighters from Hong Kong who have been well trained, including Jackie Chan, who's an extra who I believe dies. I believe Bruce Lee he murders Jackie Chan in this film. There's also a lot of lore about on set. He was becoming this huge megastar, even more so in Hong Kong than America. And so extras on set were asking him to fight because they were actual fighters. And so he would accept challenges, and he always won. But anyway, he dies about 6 days before the initial U.S. premiere of this film. Complicated. He was he was feeling ill, and he took a piece of something that was supposed to be medicine for what he thought was a headache, and apparently his body reacted inappropriately, and his brain was swollen, and he ends up dying of, I forget what the exact cause of death was, at 32. So he actually dies before this film comes out, and then is it edema? Is that what it was? Yeah. But so anyway, the setup to this movie was really, really interesting if you know it historically from that context. But it's really, really cool because he is in a dojo and he's in a community with awesome dialogue. It's basically like his entire philosophy in the beginning of this movie. It is so the first 10 minutes of this movie is just like he says something like, I think my favorite quote from the beginning is there's no such thing as an opponent because there's no I. There's no such thing as I. So therefore, how could I have an opponent if I don't exist? And then my favorite quote of his is something like, when you're ready to actually combat, your fist doesn't hit your opponent. It hits itself. It's basically like, you don't punch your opponent. It, meaning your fist, hits itself against the opponent. Is basically how it's like this weird defensive thing.
I think it's so cool. My favorite tidbit from the dialogue is, don't concentrate on the finger or you will miss all that heavenly glory.
The heavenly glory.
That's so
and
good.
I think that's good advice for all of us, don't you?
So anyway, sorry, my intro is so long, but I feel like the setup does help the understanding of this film, and I think it even makes it more fun to watch. He gets asked by the United States State Department to go. There's a tournament being held on a private island by somebody, and girls are going and they're disappearing, and they believe there is foul play. They believe there is a criminal enterprise going on this island, and once every 3 years, the antagonist of the film hosts this tournament, and they want Bruce Lee to go as a champion to fight in the tournament, but secretly be working as a spy. And he does uncover that there's a drug operation going on there. And then he basically has to fight his way in and out of this whole scenario to find the burden of proof so that when the State Department invades the island, they have proof, so they're not gonna, and yada, yada, yada. That's basically what the film's about, but it's basically an excuse for a ton of fucking fighting, and it's so awesome. Who wants to go first?
There is a little bit of story in there. Like they get
there's a great story. There's a great story, but that's why people are going to watch. That's the pitch. If you want to know more about the girls, or like his partners and friends, sure, but like that's why you're going to see the movie.
I'll tell you what, though, I think almost everybody on the planet has seen at least something to do with this movie, because it's one of the most parodied and like replicated movies I've ever seen. There are so many films that have so many references to this film.
It's the first time we saw this kind of plot, right? Like, it's Mortal Kombat.
It is.
It's the martial arts competition plot. Right? Like, it's the first time they really exploited that.
I mean, let's face it, Jackie Chan, a lot of his films. Tarantino drew a lot from this. Austin Powers, The Matrix, the whole Dragon Ball series, Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, Double Dragon video games.
All of Jean-Claude Van Damme movies.
Yeah.
Bloodsport, The Quest.
Yeah, everybody drew from this film and from this particular thing. And there was also a very famous in the 70s, I don't know whether you guys would have seen it, but it was called the Kentucky Fried Movie, and it's a very it's a very not safe for work, not safe for this time period movie, because there's a lot of jokes that would now be considered extremely inappropriate. But one thing in the middle of it is they do an actual 30-minute, almost shot for shot, like remake of the sequence from when they're on the island onwards, and it's just ridiculous.
It's a John Landis movie, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure it's hilarious.
It's ridiculous.
It's actually reminding me of Casino Royale, because Casino Royale, Bond goes to the casino as a poker player, but he's actually kind of a spy. So this,
this is described as. I feel like a lot of people were describing this as pretty classic kind of James Bond plot scenario, where you pimp your protagonist into a scenario where they are isolated with the villain. So they're in a place where they're going to have to get into fights over and over and over again as they make their way to the end of this thing. What?
And what?
How?
You put your head down. Yeah, Jeff was going to say something.
How good? So he doesn't actually. He has like kind of a training spar early on, but when he actually is in the tournament and there are stakes, how fucking fast are his goddamn hands?
Yeah.
They start they start in this position where their hands are touching, right? So they're in there like whatever you think your martial artist stance is, right? Feet wide apart, one kind of face, but I can't describe martial arts at all. But their hands have to be touching. So it's weird. You almost start at like Olympic fencing, and he would land a punch before the opponent would blink. Like it was so fucking fast.
That was not a fake snake in that movie. He beat the snake.
What's up with snakes this week? There's so many. There's a lot of reptilian and snake stuff going on this week for us.
There's a piece of trivia. Apparently, he tapped it 11 times. 8 times. I read 11 times, and he only got bitten once. So the coolest part about that is that a cobra bit him.
I'm Australian. I'm Australian. That's good odds.
Yeah, exactly.
But Jeff, you're right, dude. When that part came up, I audibly was like, "Oh!" And I rewound it like 3 times.
Because I expected like a nice long fight, and he literally just goes, it's like,
boom, boom. I mean, just fucking fast as lightning, dude. That fist was lightning fast. There's no special effects. It's one shot.
No.
I mean, that is badass. I'm very thankful.
I can tell you, there's a little bit of bad ADR in this, where certain things.
The ADR is fucking terrible on this.
Okay, it's terrible. It's terrible.
So
but I gave it a pass because it has. They shot the whole film without audio, so there was no audio recorded on set whatsoever. And
that was in the IMDb trivia. It was like IMDb trivia. They shot this without audio, and I wanted to write as a comment, "No shit, this is not trivia. Just turn the movie on." ADR is bad, but it's sorry, Dave. I didn't mean to cut you off, but it does allow for some of the best sound bites you will ever hear. Every single hit that is landed has a sound to go with it. And just think about this. None of it is live. All of it was put in later. So you're like all of your Mortal Kombat sounds are put in later. They might as well put like a fucking cat screaming in there. Like there is some of the weirdest and funniest fucking sounds. Sorry, Dave, back to you.
My wife, who's a big fan of this film, actually pointed out that the knives don't make a sound when they sweep the knives, because in this film the fists are the deadly weapons. And I mean, she's a fan of this film because damn, Bruce Lee is in shape in this. I'm sure that's what it is. But and he's in shape, man. There's not an ounce of fat on that guy. It's distracting sometimes.
It's the opposite of fat. Yeah, whatever the opposite. I mean, you can see every
not
ripple.
Not once in my life was I ever in that much shape. Like, good for him.
He looked great, man.
He's got this swagger too. I love it. Like,
he doesn't answer questions. People ask him questions and he doesn't answer. He just stares at them and they go, "Okay, never mind."
I mean, when you're watching that, you can't help but acknowledge that it was probably heightened because he died. But like, he's Bruce Lee. Like, this became this turned him into a cultural icon. This changed things.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think Jackie Chan may have had the kind of career that he had without Bruce Lee laying down groundwork. We wouldn't have the Wu-Tang
Jackie Chan
Clan.
has actually said that.
The Wu-Tang Clan.
We
And
wouldn't have the
just the
Wu-Tang
crossover,
Clan,
just the crossover to the Hong Kong and Chinese film markets. I mean, Bruce Lee really paved the way for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely. I love how he only climbs ropes in a pike position with his legs out.
I didn't even know there was a name for that. That's
I
how in
mean,
shape I'm not.
No, it's cool. Yeah, in Chinese, so a lot of foreign films, Italian films from this era, a lot of Japanese films and Chinese films, they don't record sound on set. It was like
Right.
America in the 30s
It was
and
all
40s.
outdoors
they literally
anyway. It
don't
would've
even
been
try
terrible.
because they shoot on location so much. But even 90% of this movie was shot in studios in
Really?
China. There were only a few exteriors when they were outside, and most of those are actually in the Hong Kong harbor from like back in the day before all the high rises exist.
Well, also some
So-
of those guys didn't speak English either, so they were mouthing
Yeah,
the English
guy
words.
who plays the guy who plays Han.
Yeah.
Somebody would just say the one line at a time to him off screen in English, and he would just repeat his best guess at what those sounds sounded like, and then somebody dubbed
my
it over
God.
afterwards. The guy who dubbed
mean,
it over is that guy from the Gremlins. What's the name of that? What's that character
Oh.
from the Gremlins? Like the
I
old
can't remember
Asian
his name.
guy?
Yeah,
He does the
he's
voiceover
in
for Han.
everything.
Fine.
And we haven't
what
talked
else
about
we-
it yet. I gotta throw it out. Hold on.
Go ahead.
The music is
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so funky. I don't know why they did
Yes.
that. Lalo Schifrin, guy did the Mission Impossible music, Rush Hour. Jeff, I know you love that shit.
I do. I do.
He's got. I mean, it's so funky. So
Yeah.
it's kind of no surprise to me that it's not just Bruce Lee, the martial artist who inspired a whole new movement of getting into physical shape. There was a huge martial arts surge in the 70s and 80s. Chuck Norris and Hakeem Olajuwon, not Hakeem. What's his name?
Which
Kareem
was
Abdul-Jabbar.
which was inspired by this movie.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Yeah.
But also musically, like you can see why hip hop artists took
Yeah.
this, not just the Wu-Tang Clan, but like there's such a unique tie there because of what Lalo Schifrin did musically. I don't understand.
Yeah.
This movie was extremely 70s, wasn't it?
Definitely.
Shamelessly 70s. Even as much as the movie we'll be talking about after this. Like I thought it was equally 70s. The guy who plays who's the white guy in this? John Saxon, is that his name?
John
or-
Saxon, yeah.
John
Yeah, that's exactly
Saxon.
right.
I mean, apparently they were gonna kill off Williams, the black guy, the real tall black guy. He was supposed to live, and then John Saxon's agent was like, "No, he's not gonna die in this movie." So they literally just made them switch roles so that he would be
That's too
alive
bad.
at the end. They shot this on a super,
his
super low
agent
budget, less
his
than $1
agent
million.
sounds like a dick too, because like Saxon turned up thinking he was the star of the film.
I mean, doesn't that just, again, 70s, doesn't that just sound like some
Yeah,
dirty,
it
weird,
does.
fucking weird deal from the 70s?
Jim Kelly, who's said black actor who's fucking awesome in this movie. He's a fighter. He's tall. He's got swagger out the wazoo too. Yeah, John Saxon, he could have died. That would have been totally fine by me. But I guess the subplot with the debts that he has, because early on they let him know that he's basically in this tournament to like live or die because he has a lot of he can't go back to America because he has so many debts. His life is going to be in jeopardy, so he needs to win. And so there's that underlining story. I wish they gave Jim Kelly that storyline. That would have been really cool because I like that character better. But 70s.
I'd like
Apparently,
to bring it
so-
around. I'll tell you what though, the cinematography on this, I was really impressed with, because there's not a single shot that's not interesting or aesthetically pleasing in some
Oh
way.
yeah.
Like they've thought about this, like, and some of those shots were complicated for a 70s setup. Like,
Yes, especially
You-
the mirror sequence.
oh, the
Yeah,
mirror
that whole
sequence was the mirror sequence was like the setup for that is just fucking awe-inspiring. Like, we've shot in a room with a mirror. Everyone's shot in a room with a mirror. It's fucking impossible as it is. And they went and
Yeah.
put 1,000 mirrors in this fucking place.
Yeah, how did they?
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing. In a
Yeah.
way, I wonder if it actually ended up rescuing them. I wonder if they had the mirrors in such a place that it appears impossible, but really it actually made their lives very easy because they had so many mirrors.
I think it's just two setups, and they just shifted a touch. Like,
Yeah, honestly, that's what
Yeah,
I think
that had
too.
to be it, yeah.
There's that one. I love
Yeah.
that one before they go. The first room that he turns around into with the final showdown, before they get into the mirror room, there's one shot where he kicks the shit out of what is clearly a dummy, and the dummy moves like lightning in front of the camera, like out of frame. Oh my god, that made me laugh. And of course, you're just waiting the whole movie for him to give him that giant Bruce Lee flying kick, the Liu Kang from Mortal Kombat. You're just waiting for it. He fucking nails that guy. How did those people? He does it twice in the movie where somebody like flies like 10 feet in the air. He really kicked the shit out of somebody. There's no way that didn't actually happen.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm curious how many stunt guys got hurt on this.
He's very precise. Well, Jackie Chan copped
Jackie Chan did
face,
get hurt.
Yeah. Jackie Chan gets hurt all the time, though. So,
Right.
That guy wipes himself out on at least every film. Like,
let's be real. This thing had a $850 budget.
Yeah.
And it grossed over $40 million.
In the
70s. Also, the soundtrack went gold.
Soundtrack
sold over 500,000.
I think it sold more than whatever Beatles album was out that year.
So it's funny. I was watching this, and Chloe came around. And she said, "Isn't this the music from Halloween?" I think she was saying, and I was like, "What?" She's like, "I've heard this music before," and I was like, "Honestly, you probably heard it from this." And she was like, "No, it was definitely in a horror movie." And I was like, "I bet you it's been ripped off a million times, legally or not. Like, I'm sure it has. It is. It is
honestly,
awesome.
rap artists, the hip hop world has taken these beats like crazy. Right. I mean, this shit gets redone all the time.
Really interesting about, first of all, there's great cat acting in this. There's a great cat actor, I will say.
Yeah,
Good cat.
But it's a literal save the cat moment.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know whether this is where the term is invented, but it was a literal save the cat moment, which is a script writing technique when you want someone to...
I think Cat People was when that came in.
No. It's an actual script writing technique where you have your hero do something nice, or you have someone you want the audience to identify with do something good to make them identify with them. It's called the save the cat moment. And this one just thought, fuck it, we're going to do it literally, and have him literally save a cat.
It's so good. Dude. And also, there's something else that's really interesting is so I was looking at, so this is Enter the Dragon, and Bruce Lee also has the film oh my god, The Way of the Dragon. Bruce Lee was born in the Year of the Dragon, in the Hour of the Dragon, in Hong Kong.
He's the dragon.
Which is apparently an ominous omen, but it makes total sense. Best Bruce Lee quote of all time. And if you need to find the audio clip of him doing this, and this will be stuck in your head forever. This is like his quote, and it makes total sense after seeing or before seeing this film. Empty your mind, become formless and shapeless like water. When water is poured into a cup, it becomes the cup. When water is poured into a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Be water, my friend. It's a great Bruce Lee quote.
It is a great Bruce Lee. I'll tell you one other line I really dug from the movie, and it was the Williams character when he's being threatened by the bad guy on the island, and they're in the office, and he's just threatened him, and he literally turns around and goes, "Man, you are right out of a comic book," and then immediately strikes a fighting pose.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love how, and there's
it was just
like when Bruce Lee says,
"I said my line, now we fight."
Bruce Lee says something about the why doesn't somebody take a 45 and bang bang?
Yeah.
Bang bang his ass. He's like, there's no weapons allowed on the island. He's like, oh, of course, all the right rules. We're only going to see people fight with their bare hands, dude.
And Bruce Lee didn't agree with that because he was like, if I was an informant, I would have a weapon. And they would say, but there's no weapons allowed on the island. And apparently Bruce Lee and the producers got an argument about it, and the producers won. So honestly, kudos to the producers, because I think that makes it better. I do. And another thing to remind our friends listening who may be watching, I hope you plan on watching this movie or any Bruce Lee movie, but definitely this one, is blanked. Just blanked. I just lost it. Wait, okay, it's about a tournament and they go, but most of the fighting is not in the tournament. Most of it is when he's sneaking out at night. Also, part of the best action sequences are him just creeping around making literally zero sound. He climbs a rope and jumps over a fence and lands, and he's hiding behind guards and he's not making any sound. And I know there's no actual like audio used from the film, but you can see him. He's not making any sound.
The Foley artist was underpaid.
That's right. But anyway, it's just really cool. A lot of the fighting is quote unquote real scenario, life scenario, and it's his swagger. Like he was ready to be a rock star.
Also, when you do get to the tournament, it's the 70s, dude. Like as kicking a man in the pills is apparently still a legal move. Is there
So many dick shots, right? So
Yeah,
many hits in the
cock
nuts.
what?
A
I
lot of
mean,
cock
all
shots.
over the place. I mean, that was awesome, dude. I know they have very different situations over there, probably still to this day. I don't know what their union situation was like when they were casting extras. Those massive shots of everyone training, and then at the end when everyone was fighting like each other, like how do you fucking do that? Did they just just go for it? We're
Right.
gonna hit action.
Well,
just start
yeah,
kicking the shit out of each other.
I think they might have it because there was a couple of times when they were just a little bit underdirected, like they're walking through after they've
Right.
won the fight, and there's just three guys in black uniforms pushing one guy with white uniform around between each
Right.
other like they're passing a fucking hot potato.
They probably just traded uniforms too. You know that some of these people died, and then they were in the next scene as a quote unquote different character. Like, let's be real. Also,
That was the only thing.
what?
That was the only thing I will say, just movie wise, plot wise. I didn't quite understand the connection of how the Shaolin Temple got there.
I think they
'Cause I
just
know
wanted to
that
make
guy-
it seem
I know
like
that
he was
guy said-
disgracing it. There's no reason for it other than that.
Well, I know that there was that line where that guy said, whoever the British intelligence guy was, he made a comment that Bruce Lee said, "And you will come when I
Yeah.
contact you on the radio," and he said, "Someone will come." So he did say that someone will come, but I feel like there could have been just a tiny little moment just to let us see that old sensei or whatever the leader
Right.
of the Shaolin Temple like give the order like
Right.
go get them because they just
Instead,
kind of
they just did a voiceover instead of this weird like.
One
man.
one of the things I had a slight problem with is like all the bar rats that they picked up from like the shore
Yeah.
that they had locked up in the cages downstairs. Why did they all know martial arts?
And well, yeah, they were not complaining about getting out. They're like, no, we've resigned ourselves. We're opium testers.
Yeah.
And then as soon as they get released, they're like, fuck yeah, finally. It's like,
They're like
it's
Russell
because
Crowe, I'm
of-
gonna fight.
if nothing else
think-
I'm thankful that
yeah.
these movies clearly had an influence. Bruce Lee was not the first one to do martial arts movies, but he certainly made them more popular. So
The first is the
it
first
paved the
Hollywood
way
produced
for-
martial arts film.
yeah, I mean, it paved the way for
Yeah.
range of like Jackie Chan, obviously, to Crouching Tiger would never have been greenlit.
Right.
Hero,
Jet Li.
House of Flying Daggers, like
Daggers.
there's
fuck.
such a beautiful world of cinema that has martial arts in it that comes from that
Right.
area of the world. So anyone who doesn't really
Right.
check out foreign film very much, like you can always count on everyone knows how to fight like that in those movies. Everyone has that kind of training apparently. That's just
yeah.
like part of their daily routine.
I feel
And there's an
peop-
aesthetic, Dave, to like what you were saying. There's a beautiful aesthetic to an artistic kind of approach to the way they film these things. It's not just wide shots of people beating the shit out of each other.
Yeah,
There's
no.
usually something very appealing artistically about the way it's presented.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say, Dave? you were about to say something.
I can't remember what I blanked. Oh god.
We're blanking. Go see this movie. Have
I
fun.
did
It's
like
on,
I did actually like the actual use the force Luke moment during the fight.
Yeah. There's the voiceover, right?
Yeah. Yeah, he suddenly just stares up at the sky and gets a voiceover. And it's the literal equivalent of use the force that was like done in Star Wars years later.
Yeah.
And also the guy that killed his sister, did anyone think he looked kind of like someone melted Chuck Norris?
Yes.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Chuck Norris?
O'Hara, something like that. Yeah,
That
but then
guy
he gets
punched through a lot of
gets
stuff. They're
also,
like, we
bro.
need this guy to punch through things.
Bro,
Yeah.
when you haven't landed a punch, go down. Like, stop shattering bottles and trying to kill him. Like, you're gonna be dead. Because he didn't land a
That
punch.
moment, dude.
Anyway,
that
yeah,
slow
yeah.
motion.
That kick, that
Bruce
slow motion,
Lee,
like
yeah.
hook it, yeah.
No, the kill. I mean, just the look on
Oh,
his
yeah.
face and that high squeal. Like, I mean, who would have?
That's what's cool. It is cool that Bruce Lee has the ability to do this, but you can tell that his character's point of view was he didn't want to do any of this. And I think that, even though you kind of don't believe it, at the same time, you appreciate that they're trying. Like, it's a pull off that this character does not want to fight, even though he's about to kill 100
Yeah.
people.
No, Dave said it at the beginning. I think
Yeah.
I don't think it would have been just a cheesy martial arts movie if they didn't give you that obstacle.
But
that
it wouldn't
he
be martial arts.
really
it would be a
didn't-
bastardization of martial arts because martial arts
Yeah.
aren't designed to kill. You know what I mean? They're
Yeah.
designed to protect.
I couldn't stop thinking about Mortal Kombat. It kind of made me want to go back and watch that piece of shit. But I mean, they literally John Saxon is Johnny Cage, right? Like they didn't even attempt to do something different. God. And that big guy Toro, he's Goro.
Bolo.
Bolo is Goro.
I'm pretty sure Liu Kang is literally based on. Like,
he is literally Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. So anyway.
Dave, we got to pick a new year for next week. I hope it's something recent that's on Netflix because I'm tired of renting all these movies, but let's see what happens.
We only had to rent one this week. Wasn't Enter the Dragon?
I don't have HBO now yet because I'm pissed off at HBO. Because I have HBO regular.
Oh, no.
Dude, it worked. The sign-in worked, bro.
The sign-in worked?
Yeah.
Okay, breaking news, everybody.
Google your welcome.
Wait, hold on. For anyone who's listening, because I didn't know this either. I had to figure it out on my own.
Though.
Sign in on your phone or whatever your device is, and then if you're watching through some kind of Roku or Apple TV, it will recognize your phone on the same network and it will open it up.
Fuck.
But you have to use your TV subscription on a mobile device. That's why I was confused. Anyway.
Damn it.
So it's on HBO Go Max. So is The Exorcist, I believe.
Yes.
Fuck.
All right, so next year for next week is gonna be
HBO Go Max. Sorry, go Dave.
Whatever, man. Who cares?
1985.
1985.
All right, we're gonna talk more about what the hell happened in 1985 after a word from our future sponsors that have not invested in our podcast yet. See you soon, film fans. And we're back.
We're back. Oh boy, 1985.
There was a smooth, seductive 70s, and we're back there, Jeff. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. The film year 1985 is going to be our year next year. We're talking about Back to the Future, Brazil, Out of Africa won a shit ton of Oscars. You've got The Color Purple. You've got Unfinished Business. Whatever that is.
We picked none of those.
We're not talking about any of those, actually.
One of my favorite movies that I saw with John at the Film Forum, Ron, Kurosawa's last film. Another one that would have been good to talk about for another pod.
St. Elmo's
Fire. We're going to be talking about. Oh. All right. Silverado. Okay, at the end of this segment, we are going to announce what we are going to do next week. And even though it was terrible, we are not going to do a chorus line as our redemption podcast. We just don't have it in us.
Yeah, no one should ever be that drunk.
Although we have to admit, well, we'll say this again next week, but the world found out who Daniel Day-Lewis was this year, 1985, the year that A Room with a View and My Beautiful Laundrette came out in New York City on the same day. Welcome to the world, DDL! Oh. But for right now, we are going to finish our 1973 podcast with the redemption film. Was it really that bad? And our redemption podcast today is going to be focused on Live and Let Die, which is something you may have forgotten was an actual movie because you know the theme song written by Paul McCartney and his wife, Linda McCartney.
It's one of the best theme songs ever.
The first Roger Moore Bond. James. Sean Connery turned down $5.5 million, which is equivalent to about $30 million today, because he was tired of it. It would have been his seventh one. He didn't want to do it anymore, even for $30 million. I don't know about you. I think it would have taken the $30 million and bought a villa in Italy, but it's just me. Guys, we have Jack Lemmon, Jack Nicholson, Robert Redford, Marlon Brando, Al Pacino. We've got people making movies.
Oh, I was like,
what is going on with this? So Live and Let Die comes out, and it's like, wait, but we have Roger Moore, and you know what we're going to do? We're going to throw him in Harlem. This is and then maybe a little bit in New Orleans. Let's see if people still think this is the same Bond.
Yeah.
this movie, come on, tell me this movie is not Monty Python Does Bond. This movie is Monty Python Does Bond.
Buzzing for that. Let's lean into it right now. This is my favorite Bond music introduction with the opening sequence. I think it's my favorite one, and it's my least favorite Bond movie that I've ever seen. That's me for that. All right, can we just get it out in the open at the beginning here? Let me drink real fast.
No, that's not a
James
preemptive
Bond-
drink.
James
You
Bond-
still have to drink when you get buzzed.
No, he drank.
I
The
just
buzz.
drank. James Bond movies are tough to watch nowadays. Like they always
Dude,
made me a little
we don't
uncomfortable.
Come on, we don't need the hate.
No,
mail,
no, no!
right? We don't
Fuck
need the
you.
hate
We
mail.
have got to acknowledge that. How many times did
it's
he
a
walk
fucking
up
misogyny
behind
fest.
a woman? He walked up behind every woman that's in that movie, put his hands on her, turned her around, and like kissed her. Like so, there was a little bit
don't forget,
of like,
don't forget the
didn't age
reassuring
well,
pat
did
on the
not age
butt
well.
on the boat. Like, yeah, you've
Yep.
done a good job.
yep. So
Yeah.
we can move past that.
That
but, like,
turned
of course,
my
was
stomach
weird.
a little bit, but yeah. So
It was a little weird. Just
there's a
just-
warning.
yeah, just knowing that it was Roger Moore too. Like they didn't handle it very delicately the first time they were handing over it to a new actor. So it wasn't like you were used to this guy, that particular human being, like acting like that. You know he's James Bond, but I don't know. I just didn't. I thought it was really devicey. I thought that they were. I appreciated that they. I liked the villain's turn. Like I kind of liked how they were operating in multiple places on planet Earth. I liked that it all really just boiled down to drugs and money in a more like, you know, logistical approach to it. Wasn't about the voodoo, it wasn't about the magic. Like I was glad that they kind of dropped that about halfway through so that it was more about how this businessman was making it happen. But I don't know, I just didn't
You know,
it was so formulaic.
In the original book, it wasn't heroin; it was gold. He was going to flood the market with gold, and they changed it to heroin.
To change it to like a resource economy, to like try to turn it into a resource.
Well, and then
economy.
and then in Enter the Dragon, it's opium. So what is up with drugs going on in 1973?
Is that
happening?
when
the
the war on
70s,
drugs
bro.
started?
It's the 70s.
No,
Like
the war on drugs. Oh yeah, it was Nixon. You're right, it was. And then
the Nancy Reagan took it up
yeah,
a notch.
yeah. Anyway.
I don't know. Can you guys
Anyway.
tell me? Are either of you huge Bond connoisseurs?
I thought I was, to be honest with you, because
I've watched a lot of them.
I've seen a lot of them too.
Okay, so tell me this then, because I watched my fair share of James Bond growing up whenever the marathons came on. I've probably seen Roger Moore way less than I've seen the other main ones, Pierce, Sean,
Yeah.
or Daniel. I don't think I've ever seen the fourth or fifth guy. Who are the other two?
No,
George
Lazenby
Lazenby?
only did one movie.
Yeah, he only
Didn't
did one movie.
And it's good. It's a pretty good movie. In His
Okay.
Majesty's Service, I think.
In His Majesty's Secret Service. Yeah. Are most
That's the one that was shot by another studio, wasn't it?
Yeah. It
and
was
it was a
competing, so
giant
It was not
fuck
a.
you,
It's the
yeah.
only non-broccoli film.
Yeah.
So are most of the Bond movies the same movie?
What? Come on.
I
I've
don't
said this
know,
about
dude.
Mission Impossible, and you guys gave me so much shit. I was like, Mission Impossible is Bond, but American, and you guys gave me so much shit about it, and here we are.
I didn't.
It's not the same one. The reason this one's
And yet-
different is because
and
there's
yet you
nobody
still
Russian and
voted it
nobody
through.
German.
I'm sorry, you
No, but
said
you know
that.
what I
and you
mean.
still voted it through.
No, you know what I mean. Like,
You're right,
for-
and it deserved it.
yeah,
It came
yeah.
before it.
No, I thought we defended you, and then you agreed, and you got on board. It subverted a lot of those formulaic like cliches. Is this?
Are we
is
in
this
an argument
formula
right
the
now? I can't
same-
tell.
Is this what?
Are we in
Is
an
this-
argument right now? I can't even tell.
No, wait. We're always a little bit in an argument, but I can't find. I can't tell if the formula. Because I can't. I was trying to remember the last time I had watched one of the Sean Connerys. Because obviously, if this came like right after it, did the latter Sean Connerys or the initial Sean Connerys were they all the exact same formula? Bond is existing
Pretty
somewhere. The
close.
exposition of M or somebody coming to him telling him to do something. He gets involved in a skirmish and then gets wrapped up into it. He meets the girl.
Yeah, and they're known as Bond girls for a reason. They usually start on the villain's side and come across to his side.
Yeah.
It's entirely formulaic every single time. It's the same thing.
Except
So
they
why
got rid
did
of
this-
some fun stuff. There's no
So what-
M. This is the only movie that M didn't appear in. Or Q, sorry, Q. And it's
Yeah.
just so annoying because he only gets one gadget, which is this watch. Give him some fucking gadgets. Come
Yeah,
on.
they just. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the decision was, and yet
the-
the villains had plenty of
Yeah.
them. Like almost every fucking
plenty
prop
of-
in this movie had a microphone, a camera, or a gun in it.
Yeah, those fucking voodoo things. Also, I'm pissed off at the stunts in this. The stunts were trash, which is funny because you have boat crashes, you have plane crashes, and then you have like this little voodoo doll that like shoots a girl, and then later you see her like lying dead, and you're like, she's running. So there's a girl who's running. So picture a girl running, and then all of a sudden you see a little voodoo doll head that like shoots a gun, and then you just see a girl on the floor.
fucking
It's like
dead.
I could have
Yeah.
made that in my I could have made that in my like college dorm room. Like how did that happen? No,
Immediate
seriously. But then this movie has like a plane sequence where cars and planes and a boat that goes on land. How many times did a boat just hop land? Man, it just literally went from the lake to the ravine over. Went through a wedding ceremony. So apparently they really wanted to incorporate humor into this movie. I don't know why they failed, but like they really wanted to put something funny into this movie. And you know what's not very funny is a bumbling, idiotic James Bond who's out of place. That's how the movie started. No, some of it's good and some of it he's suave, but he's getting totally played by this Harlem crew. Also, you could tell, I mean, yeah, there's like, is the first Bond like interracial kiss? There's a lot for like non-white casting in this. Apparently, you know, the even though they were on the quote unquote villain side with Bond, it's never quite so simple. Like nobody's ever pure evil or pure good. So there's a lot of complex characters. A very diverse cast is really, really interesting that way.
Lowercase C's.
Lowercase C's, yeah. But then they make these jokes where they're like, "Gee, I really like your disguise," and Bond's like, "What disguise?" And they're like, "You're wearing a white face in Harlem," and it's like, really, this is where Bond is going right now. It really feels like an SNL sketch. It's like James Bond is poor in Harlem, and it's like him like bumbling around in Harlem with this crew. It was really strange. Now, some of the action sequences are really cool. Bond is Bond, but it's missing a lot of the stuff. It's missing a lot of the stuff. Now, Roger Moore did make Moonraker. He made Octopussy.
Yeah, I've seen those.
He has great sidekicks like Jaws or Mr. Larson, as I know him from Happy Gilmore. Like,
I believe that belongs to Mr. Gilmore.
Oh my God, it's one of my favorite things.
And I'll see you
and you can
in the parking
you
lot.
can count on me seeing you in the parking lot. Yeah, Mr. Larson. that yell when he takes and it doesn't matter. That's not even in this movie. Okay, I don't want to hate on this. I don't want to be sad. This movie is funny bad. I'll put it that way. This movie's funny bad. Bond is getting tailed by people that are smarter than him. You don't see that very often. Also, apparently Bond's, the entire MI6, is like one friend of Bond's who's never concerned. He literally has lines like, "Gee, where's our friend?" And I was like, I don't know, his life is in your hand, motherfucker. Like, this is a spy. This is a spy who is beyond enemy lines. He is inside enemy lines, and they're like, "Gee, I thought our friend would have scuba dived out by now. What's happening here?" And it's like, figure it out. That's your job. Your job is to keep him alive.
This is my best.
Also,
this is my best analogy. Live and Let Die is the LaCroix of James Bond movies.
LaCroix? No.
It's like,
Did you say LaCroix?
I know-
Did you mean LaCroix?
I
Yeah,
know-
that's some shit you need a face mask for.
I know all the elements are there, and because I know what you mean, Jeff. Like, there's like a comedic tone to it, and I know that there was a little bit of campiness in the old Connery versions. I'm not saying they were like super grounded in drama or anything like that, but this
Right.
one took itself even less seriously, which I
Right.
couldn't quite tell if that made me feel like it was a little offensive to the cultures that it was dealing with.
You
Oh,
see,
yeah.
you see his apartment, and he's a bad host. He like has the shitty espresso machine, and you're sitting there, you're like, "This is James fucking Bond," and he's like, "Hey, look what I can do."
Also,
That
he
all it
put,
does?
Espresso comes out, he's like, "Oh,
he put
What
the
do you
milk
think?
in the coffee and then frothed it.
Can we quote Happy
He put the milk
Gilmore
in-
some
yeah,
more?
yeah. Oh, wait. Okay, here's a sequence that he goes full Pepe Le Pew at one point. Okay, so he arrives in this. They go to this. Okay, well, think about the stakes. Most of these Bond movies, it's like Russian warheads, like Civil War era. Bond has to stop the Cold War from becoming a hot war and saving humanity. This, they go to a fictional land that's basically Jamaica, but they don't call it Jamaica because they had apparently already used Jamaica. But they wanted to basically use the same like stereotypes of what these very white writers were writing of Jamaican people. So they made it like San Marco. I forget what the name of the island was. San Monique,
Yeah, Saint Lucia,
San Manasquan.
something.
San something. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Nobody cares.
What
It
are
doesn't
the
matter.
Virgin
They end up in
Islands?
New Orleans. And they didn't even do New Orleans. If you're going to do New Orleans, do New Orleans. Don't just give me one jazz band who actually everybody's just a patsy for this fucking group that's like carrying a dead body around. Like, let me see New Orleans. We were in New Orleans just to play like 30 seconds of like a fucking like
Yeah, it was one-
And then
it was one
then we're
gag.
out. Get the fuck out of here. Let's go to New Orleans. Do this. Do James Bond in New Orleans. Don't cop out, you motherfuckers. Anyway, so he's like with this woman First Bond interracial kiss. I guess they probably patted themselves in the back thinking they were such trailblazers for that, innovators. And then he pulls a gun on her right away because she might be a spy. And she goes, it's not my fault.
Dude, yeah.
And he goes full fucking Pepe Le Pew because he's like saying her, he's like, oh, darling, oh, darling. And they have known each other for 12 hours. He's already like seduced. She's like, how could you do that to me and then turn on me? And it's like, come on, it's been 12 hours. You do not have a love story. And then she just runs away. She just escapes from him. And then he, instead of like firing the gun, this is what he does. He stands up and stares out into the distance and goes, Rosie. And then he starts running after her. It's like a fucking Chevy Chase meets Pepe Le Pew. And this is a Bond movie. It's trash. It's terrible trash. And then she does what I said before, which is she dies off camera. And it's like, get the fuck out of here with this bullshit. Like, come on. Just give me some boat sequences and cut it into like a 10-minute reel and say, we had money and we filmed this. It was fun. Here's Roger Moore. Roll Paul McCartney. That's what this movie probably should have been.
No, I agree.
Dave, what do you think?
Yeah, that line bothered me.
All right. I mean, I made a few observations. Like it starts off with an agent being killed by the
Oh yeah, we didn't talk about that yet.
The Baron Samedi character. And he kills him by basically threatening him with a fucking rubber snake, and holds it to his face and goes, and the guy reacts, and like you look at his cheek and there's no marks there. I'm like, how fucking sharp were the snake's teeth? It didn't even leave a mark. And this guy's like, dead.
Get
like
another
5 seconds
take,
later.
you guys. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Take one more.
I did. The thing I do love about 70s movies is they, like, when you went somewhere, you had to go to that location. You couldn't fake it. So, like, when they go to New York and he's driving, his like, driver picks him up from the airport and they're driving, and then his driver is immediately assassinated while driving the car. And they're smashing up, he's swerving, he's smashing up other cars. And I was like, wow, the drive down the FDR hasn't really changed, has it?
That has changed, yeah. But at least that was Bond. Like, buzz yourself for that, you motherfucker, ripping on New York during the pandemic. But at least that was Bond-esque. What wasn't Bond-esque was check the medallion of your cab. He ends up in like 10 cabs that are all compromised. And it's like,
Yes.
Oh yeah. I love
look
how
at the licenses.
Sorry, I love how when he wrecks that car. I mean, that is a brutal car. He has no seatbelt on. He's steering from the back seat, and it cuts to him, and he's just standing completely scratchless.
He's fine.
He's totally fine.
And then
Some of my favorite though was like he turns up at his hotel after going through all this. I'd be immediately suspicious. Like, a lot of people around me have died, and he's turned up at his hotel, and they're like, Mrs. Bond's already checked in, and he's like, oh, Mrs. Bond. And they're like, yeah. So he goes up to his hotel room. What's the first thing he does? I'm gonna take a bath.
Yeah, what the fuck is he doing in this
fucking bath?
He hasn't even like checked the corners. He hasn't scanned the room. Like nothing. He's immediately like gonna put himself in a vulnerable
which
bath.
then leads to, and wait till you get a load of this, leads to fucking trained assassin snakes.
Assassin snakes. I know.
Assassin snakes.
That was cool how he handled that snake. I mean, I don't know, you guys. I mean, I think I'm also just, after us praising Mission Impossible so hard, I hadn't seen any of the Bonds since we watched all those Mission Impossibles, and I think it just kind of made me think back to everything we were saying that was why we love the Mission Impossible so much. I feel like until Daniel Craig, until these reboots, they didn't even try to make you care about Bond as a human being. It was just the fun, which is fine. Like, I'm totally down for having fun. But again, this one felt like it was starting to trespass into an uncomfortable place, just because if you're going to try to introduce the first black Bond girl and have an interracial kiss and having the whole villain and the society around them be mostly in black islands or a black neighborhood in New Orleans or New York, and you have this tone and this style, it felt a little offensive to me.
100%. You know what it was like? It was like Gold Member, where it's like Foxy Cleopatra, and it's like this, like, but it's like they put Foxy Cleopatra in a legitimate Bond movie that wasn't.
I was going to say, I feel like Foxy Cleopatra was handled with more respect than anybody in this movie.
Also, I mean, I just want to bring it up. How the fuck is he smoking a cigar on a hang glider?
Why is he trying to be incognito and he's in hang gliding?
He's
hang gliding. He's like trying to be.
Hold on. the covert hang gliding.
Yeah.
How the
No,
fuck is
I
he
wrote down
supposed to
that is
get
one
up?
of the worst kills in movie history. Is him kicking the guy from the hang glider. He kicks him. It looks like a dummy. It looks like they're using a puppet,
And
and
he-
he's
oh
hang
my
gliding
God.
towards this guy. It's like, "Urgh," and then it goes and he like
lands-
kind of.
That
It's
thing
like,
is like 16 feet wide when he finally lands like right in front of the entrance to the lair. Like there was only one guard
Nobody
watching.
saw it.
Bullshit,
Nobody saw it.
dude. And that is the longest cigar that has ever been smoked before.
Yeah, it's obviously obviously the guards are on break or something because he comes down, he flies in, he jumps off, he gets back in his suit, and he sneaks into the stronghold. And he's like, "All right, I've just snuck into the enemy stronghold. I'm going to take a break and bang Jane Seymour."
yeah,
Yep.
why is he keeps banging all these people? Okay, the lovers line when she's a voodoo person who like reads these weird tarot card things, and like James Bond is finally gets up to Jane Seymour, who's like working for the enemy here, and she's like their voodoo reader because her mom was or whatever, and then he tries to seduce her. And then he's like, well, maybe we should pull our card. And he pulls it, and it's like the lovers. And he's like, you already knew this was the card, didn't you, though? And then they start like making out. And then you find out that all the cards are the lovers, and then they have sex. And it's like, this is the dumbest fucking way of getting laid I've ever seen on screen. And it's
just
funny
like-
because, let's be real, he is kind of smooth. Like, under a different circumstance, you can see this guy being smooth and grabbing.
Well, that's why I'm not
tail or
faulting.
whatever, but,
That's
like,
why I'm not faulting Roger Moore. I didn't really mind Roger Moore.
right.
Like
He
Roger
didn't choose
Moore's
to be a
not the
terrible house
problem.
guest.
He didn't choose
I mean-
to have that terrible way to get her to sleep with him. Like he didn't choose any of this. So I
Yeah,
don't
right.
blame Roger Moore. I like Moonraker. I like
mean, this
that.
whole-
I like
Yeah,
that one.
Moonraker's cool.
This whole
Yeah,
thing
Golden
is a film
Gun,
that just
good stuff.
didn't know what it was. Like it started off
Yeah.
as kind of a Bond film, and then somehow turns into the last 30 minutes of the Blues Brothers on water.
Oh my god! And the climbing over crocodiles and shit. Dave, do you think they like wrote the script for Sean Connery, and then when they cast Roger Moore, they went, "Oh no!" and they tried to like make all these changes quick? Like, what do you think happened? Like, it had to have been lost in translation, something, right?
I don't think so. I think this was the movie they set out to make.
Wow.
Yeah, the
Crocodiles. The crocodiles.
good for them. You go, Glenn Coco.
Apparently, an extra actually had to get like 100 stitches because he actually did the legitimate stunt over the crocodiles. Was it really worth it?
That was the
Like-
guy that was the guy that owned the alligator farm.
Yeah, who happened to be the stunt double for?
Yeah. And they
Anyway,
named
the
the main,
dress- the dress
and they,
unzipping
and
with
they
the-
named the main villain after him for that.
Right, which is cool. Now the dress unzipping with the one fucking gadget that he had, which is this
Yeah.
magnetic watch. One gadget that he had. Even the hang glider wasn't a gadget. Like, come on. So the one gadget he had, he can unzip a dress with it, which is the only real cool thing he did with it the whole movie. I know it became functional later, but I was already falling asleep by that point.
Yeah.
The best part about the movie is that a shrimp roll is only 50 cents. That was really cool in the restaurant. You could see up the board of all the prices that they go to, and the prices looked really great.
Yeah, I got pretty
Um,
hungry.
I think the thing that bugged me the most about this was like they had a great idea for the soundtrack. Let's write the most amazing theme song ever,
And use it
and
over
then
and over
just
again.
use it.
God damn it!
Again,
What
and
would they have done
again and
without it?
again.
What would this movie have been without that? Without that song
Oh my
used
god.
100
Fucking
times
quieter.
throughout?
And the director didn't want to use McCartney's version because he thought
Yeah.
that so a girl sings it at a bar later. And he liked her version better than McCartney's. And McCartney said, I'm pulling the song if you don't let me sing it in the opening credits. And so they said, fine. But the director almost didn't let McCartney use the song.
Yeah.
They almost walked.
I mean,
he
if
wrote
that's-
the song and then they almost walked.
If that's not a sign that your director's not in his right fucking mind, then what is?
Her version is really cool. I did
Her version's
I did
awesome.
like that.
But
Yeah, I
there's
did
also-
really like
yeah.
that version.
Anyway.
But
Anything else we want to say about this? Like, because nobody's going to see this after seeing this podcast.
Yeah, no,
nothing positive. There's not,
They
there's
probably
nothing-
shouldn't
there's
anyway.
nothing
It's
positive
dated.
to say. Yeah,
Just-
don't watch this movie.
yeah,
guys.
start-
There's other good Roger Moores. The
Just
Bond series
start
is
with
fine.
Daniel Craig and just
$4.
go from there.
$4. I'll
Start
never
with
see
Daniel
again.
Craig.
$4.
I feel like
out
there's
of
like
my wallet.
5 movies. The Lazenby one's not bad. I feel like GoldenEye's worth a watch for Pierce, but then the other 3 you could skip.
Yeah, they get a little ridiculous.
Yeah, that's it.
Anyway, I think that's all we got. We don't need to overdo this one here.
Yeah.
Don't see this one. If you're watching a Bond marathon, take a pee break for about 2 hours when this one's on.
We tried to redeem it. This is the one you sleep through at the marathon.
Yeah,
Good
I feel like in
movie.
the marathon, I always got the same ones. I would always turn it on, and it was always The Spy Who Loved Me, or You Only Live Twice, or You Only Die Twice, whatever that one is
Live
called.
Man with
Twice.
the golden
I feel like-
gun. Yeah, like
I
the
never saw that
classics.
one on the rewatch. I had to like find that one. But whenever I was doing the rewatch, it was always the same ones.
Really?
Anyway,
Hmm.
doesn't matter. I grew up with Pierce Brosnan. I saw all of the Pierce Brosnans
So-
in the theaters.
Of course.
Next week.
He was so great. Anyway, okay, let's go to next
Next
week.
week.
Dave's fucking done with it. Let's fucking move on.
Yeah.
Let's get out of that shit.
Oh,
Next
and to
week-
everybody in our fucking, if everybody in our franchise thing that gave a shit for not putting Bond on there, now you fucking know why, all right? Everybody, now you know why. It is a great franchise. It's not a good franchise. I don't know how else to say it, all right? It's great. There's 40 films. There's like a lot of clunkers. Dave, what
Live
were
and
you
Let
saying?
Die is Live and Let Die is to James Bond as is it Nemesis is to Star Trek?
Oh, yes, it is. That motherfucker.
Yeah. Goddamn.
Okay,
All right.
sorry, Dave.
1980 fucking 5, dude. Let's do it.
1985. I didn't write down the movies we're doing, so it's up to you, Dave.
We're doing Witness.
Witness.
Harrison
Witness.
Ford Witness.
Harrison
Yes.
Ford, Peter Weir.
And Kiss of the Spider Woman.
Ooh.
Mm.
Ooh.
Raul
You say
Julia
like
William
we
Hurt.
didn't discuss it for 20 minutes during the break. That was well done, guys.
I did forget. I've forgotten. And what's that
I'm
one?
really
And
excited to see
we're
that one.
gonna redeem it because it had a score of, was it 36 on Rotten Tomatoes?
38.
Even
yeah.
though I really didn't
38?
want to do this,
Yeah.
but they
National
talked me into it.
Lampoon's
36. Dave, you're right. 36.
National Lampoon's European Vacation.
Yeah, European vacation.
That's
Hi,
right.
me and my family are looking for sex. That's a line. That's a quote.
Yeah, it
They're
is.
in
And
Germany.
I like when my dad was over for my wedding last year. I actually did almost the entire "Daddy's Gonna Pork" scene from in a restaurant that we went out
Oh,
to.
you shared that.
I'm
with
very
us.
excited.
Yeah.
I'm excited about European vacation. I don't care what you say. It's gonna be fun.
I
Guys,
am
we're
too.
gonna
No,
have a
I'm
fun week
excited.
next
I'm excited
week.
to laugh.
Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week. You guys are the best.
Boom, movies.
Whoever you
Yeah.
are.